Namaste everyone, I am Chandresh Bhardwaj and today I will be sharing my bit on how relationships are portrayed on social media. This is a topic that I have been personally observing for many years. But lately, I think in this lockdown, so many things have happened, and the darkness, the suppression, the depression of many people is, there it's coming out, and I felt I need to make a video on this. I have been sharing up about such things uh, on my Insta stories, and I talk about this in my podcast as well. But I don't think I've specifically pointed out the relationships on social media specifically. And after I read your comments on this video, I will make extended episode on the podcast as well. Now, the need to make this video happened when I started getting certain posts from you guys. Many of you forwarded certain post quotes from other social media accounts, and most of those social media accounts were huge, hundreds and thousands of followers, millions of followers. And you guys sent me some of the postings and you said, what do you think about it? Because the way you talk about relationships and the way they are talking about relationships, it's different. And do you have any thoughts, any insights? And I started reading those postings, and I got to tell you, I was very disturbed after I read the kind of posts that were shared, because not only the posts were disturbing, but the response to that post was even more disturbing. I'm going to read just two or three out of those plenty of posts that I got. This one says, one day you will wake up at 11:30 a.m. on a Sunday with the love of your life, and you'll make some coffee and pancakes, and it will be all right. Second one is, don't break up, fix the problem, start the romance again, go on dates again, work on winning each other over again. This is why this is why there are so many failed relationships, because if you love each other and are best friends, then breaking up is not the answer. And this one says, I will wait for you because honestly, I don't want anyone else. And then there are many postings which clearly showcase that you own your partner. It's a very clear, uh, directly written that I own you or you own me, and we don't belong to anyone else. Many of these postings are disturbing to many, to a lot of extent, because people believe what they read, what they watch on media. Their brains start to believe that if you start to lie to yourself over something, your mind will believe your lies. That's just how our mind is built. And unfortunately, we are conditioned to live and love through the mind and not through the awareness. So when you read something like this, guess what happens? Your mind starts to believe this. And that one post which says that everything will be all right if you wake up at 11:30 with the love of your life. Now, the people who do not have the love of their life with them, who are not eating pancakes on Sunday morning because either they do not have a partner or they're struggling through a relationship, these kind of posts trigger many of their emotions. And during the time I got these posts, I was receiving a lot of messages, including with the pictures and letters where people were trying to harm themselves because they failed in certain relationship. And they would post these kind of quotes, or they would forward me similar blogs which kind of validate that you need to have a partner. If you're not married by this age, if you do not have kids by this age, your life is pretty much gone, and you're a failure. And you start to believe this. You start to believe everything you're reading and watching. Now, you got to understand one thing. When someone is creating the content on social media, right, we call them content creators. The content creator has one mindset. They want to see what people are liking, what's the trend. They don't care about the right or the wrong, or what they also like or don't like. Most of the times their one major goal is, what do people want to read, what's their fare, what's their trigger. And they start to produce content based on that. And of course, nobody knows what the people want, right? But we all make assumptions based on what's trending, what's the hottest news, what's trending on Twitter, what's the most popular topic on Instagram, and we start to create content accordingly. But if you create content based on what others, are trending and stuff, then you're no more a content creator, you're a content manufacturer. And there's a difference. When you create something, it's a meditation, it's meditative, it becomes an art, right? You invest your heart and soul into it. It could take you a long time to create that, or maybe it could take you 1 second, because it happens out of your soul. It happens as an expression of your being. And then you don't really care about the validation of your audience, because you are like, I need to share this and I'll go ahead. But when you're simply sharing because you want the validation of the audience, then you start to manufacture content and you start to have people around you who help you in manufacturing that. It becomes a factory, like a bank which just keeps on printing. These content manufacturers need your validation. So if you hit like, if you buy their program, if you make a comment with hearts and stuff, you validate what they're printing out, right? And then they keep sharing more and more of that stuff because the data says it, that you like that stuff. Now that's one side of the validation. The other side of validation is us, the audience. When we read something and if we are going through any trouble, confusion, and when we start to believe these kind of postings, instead of questioning them, instead of putting some hard questions there, we also tend to just suppress our curiosity, and we also start to find validation in what they are sharing. So it becomes a two-way game. Not only the content manufacturer is looking for the validation from the audience, but the audience is also trying to find a validation, trying to find a space for their existence in this whole complex web of virtual relationships. I started coming across this dark reality of the social media relationships when I saw what you see on the Instagram is not at all what's happening in their life. They might be having a very dark, ugly fight over silly issues, but they would post such a romantic, amazing picture on social media because deep down they're looking for the validation, they want the attention. And then you start hitting the like and you start to comment, and you kind of again validate that. And this is why many content manufacturers start to put their personal relationships in order to cash on that attention, right? And I'm not saying everyone is doing that, obviously, right? But you know what I'm talking about. It's the pattern that continues to happen. And with these kind of postings that I shared, it gets just a little more crazy. Now, the truth is, the point is that you have to decide what kind of content you're going to consume. You got to be conscious consumer, right? The way you would, buy something very important for yourself. If you have to buy a property, if you have to buy a house, you would, do all the research. You would do all the meditation on it. You would speak to people because you're investing your money, right? You're going to maybe take a loan to buy the house. If you have to buy a new shirt, you go through the research. If you have to buy a camera, you go through your own research. So when it comes to consuming the social media content, don't just keep scrolling. And if you're constantly scrolling and randomly on the social media, you will start to consume everything. Then you become unconscious consumer. But you have to shift your consumption from this unconscious consumer to conscious consumer. And that reminds me of the next point. When you start to consume consciously, you also start to understand the nature of love. Nature of love is not confined by these rigid laws of uh, society or religion or culture. Our culture, our religion defines relationship in a very rigid way, in a very structured way, because human being doesn't know how to handle freedom. They don't know how to handle, animals handle it in a much better way than us. We don't know how to handle it. So our society, our culture, our families, they have created specific, strict rules about relationships. But relationship and love, they're not the same thing. You know, love is ever evolving, love is unstructured. Love does not want to stick to the rules. Imagine a river flowing from the top of the mountain. It will want to find its flow. If you block the river at some place, it will start to stink. It will attract mosquitoes. It will be stagnant river. And if you randomly open the block of that river, it will cause flood because it was blocked for too long. That's what starts to happen with these, when your energy of love is blocked. When you block the energy of your love starts to get stagnant, it starts to stink, it starts to attract the toxic patterns, because we don't know how to find conscious outlets of our love. And when we believe these kind of social media postings, we just start to believe what's sold to us. The nature of love is raw, it's free. And when I share something like this, I start to get messages: are you talking about polyamory? Do you think we can love more than one person? Of course you can love more than one person, you're designed to love more than one person, but it doesn't mean that it's polyamory, because our uh, way of understanding love is all confined between the lenses of sex and romance. When you truly understand the nature of your love, it goes much beyond sex and romance. It goes much beyond these narrow parameters of love. The point is that you have to expand the energy of your love beyond sex, beyond romance. And then you'll be surprised that not only it's so normal and natural to love more than one person, but also it becomes impossible to not be able to express your love to more than one person. It's impossible to avoid that. Okay? So I want you to absorb, meditate on everything I shared. Share your questions in the comments below. Share this video. As I start to receive your questions and comments, I would make a podcast episode on this. Thank you for all the support, all the love, and I will see you in the next video.